Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke, but I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
And we're off. This is episode numero 4, Quattro. I'm with Pam Doors. We're going for number 4 because I still have questions. Are you ready?
Hell yeah, bring it on.
What's it going to feel like when your mom's off the planet for you?
Relief.
Well,
I just feel like there'll be one less person to torment me when she's gone.
also, I because of my situation, which is my kids are not fully estranged. They're taking time. And I've encouraged it, especially they're in their 20s, individuation. It's a time for individuation regardless. So I'm just, it's heartbreaking. But have you, this is unfair because I've already asked you this, but I just want you to speak to it. You've thought about, possibly, I know you have a relationship with your oldest son's 2 children. You don't anticipate your daughter having children because you know her husband doesn't want children, which is telltale of a lot of things that I'm not going to get into, but you can imagine. And then your younger son, recently married, no children yet. Have you thought about the potential of estrangement there? I mean, not in a fixated way, but in the decisions that are down the pike where he's concerned, let alone his wife and children?
I've thought about what would happen if, and of course, as a parent, I would never want that to happen. I mean, I enjoy being a grandparent. I feel like that's why we have to go through the torture of being a parent, is so that we can get to being a grandparent. And, we talked about this briefly once before, and I thought about it a lot just in the past couple of days. And I think I would still choose me over a relationship with possible future grandchildren. And I do my very best to cultivate a good relationship with my youngest. But it's, as each year ticks by, he gets more and more distant, and I can't change his thought patterns.
Right.
But I can certainly pinpoint where it's coming from. He's always been very malleable when it comes to his sister. They're very close in age. They're kind of like twins.
Well,
What she says is what goes.
Yeah, and he witnessed her accident.
Yeah. I mean, she's very controlling of him. I didn't want to believe that was true, but when he got married, she was his wedding planner, and she very craftily created quite the chasm between he and I, as a conversation that we had to have about how disrespected his dad and I were at his wedding, over and over and over and over again. And his answer was, well, I didn't mean it, but she was in charge and she said that's what we should do, so that's what we did.
Yeah. That's tough.
I mean, I can't, I'm not going to throw myself to the wolves to have a relationship with her so that I can be in his good graces. I can't do that to myself. I spent my whole life trying to people please and trying to twist and turn to be what people wanted me to be in order to be loved or cared for or protected or pick the word or not abused. But I can't do that anymore. So he has to either want to have a relationship with me despite what she says and despite her stories or not. And I can't change that. I'm just going to have to live with the consequences.
Question, spitballing here and relating it to conversations I've had and with others. There's a whole ton going on in my mind. What would it take? Would you have to discuss what went on with your daughter, or could you just start anew if it was an opportunity?
You mean to patch my relationship with her? What would it be?
Yeah.
Or what would I need? Well, I already told her what it would take for us to just forget about yesterday and start looking at today and tomorrow. That's all I need. She's been told that there is, well, and maybe that's a lie. Before she excluded me, from her very special day, which again, I'm an old soul. To me, in theory, that's the most important day of your life, or one of the most important days of your life. Up until that point, we had told her there's always a seat at the table. It's just going to take a little work for you to be able to sit at it.
Hey, only work. May I interject? If you had been at my wedding, you would have talked me out of it.
Well, so all we have to do is agree to disagree. She has her things that she believes wholeheartedly that were said, not said, done, not done, and I have mine. They're both our truths. We can hold on to our own truths and not blame the other for it. We just need to move forward and not continue to look backwards. And that's hard, I'm sure, but that was all I needed. And she said that meant that I was calling her a liar because I didn't believe what she believed. And I said, well, there's always three sides to every story, right? I mean, what actually happened, your version and my version. So why can't we just disagree that there's a third side, put it behind us, and go on and start building again? And she wouldn't.
I used to believe that. I used to believe there were two sides. Now it's two sides when people are committed to the truth, regardless of their experience, which can be different. But now I have very few conversations, and I'm not talking with people that are close to me and are in my life and we're having a well-adjusted conversation, but I'll get into conversations with someone who's dead set on miscommunication, for lack of a better word, and I bail. I bail out of the conversation because I'll end up defending myself, and they'll end up, going down a path that, and again, it's their truth, but it's not. It's their dissociated view of something, and I can't have those conversations with people anymore because the people on the side of truth or self, which I think is a better word, we argue to get it out. They're arguing to keep it in, and that's people will just what I've seen people do to not look at themselves is it's sad. I don't mean it to be it. My heart breaks for them, and I always have. I'm sure similar to yourself. I always see what's going on, and I can't get out in front of it because of what we just described for an hour and a half. It's just
right.
It's just really hard to be a whistleblower, truth teller, 69 other things, and have it matter because the people who can't look at themselves are just totally committed to our truth not being not our truth or anybody else's for that matter.
Right.
And it's the state of the world. It's just all over the place.
But to finish sort of answering your question, when she called to tell us that we weren't invited, I begged her I begged her to just stop the conversation right then and there, because
Right.
I was pretty
Right.
sure that if she went through with that, and purposefully knowing how horrific, even if we couldn't sit in the back somewhere and just at least witness it, that I wasn't sure that that was going to be the break for me just not giving a fuck about her ever again. Because that mother-daughter bond on that special day is very important to me. And she took that away, and I can never have it back. I mean, you can't go back in time. So when we were having that conversation that day, that the last day that I spoke with her, I said, please don't do this, because I don't know if I can come back from it. Because 5 years down the road, let's say somehow we patch up and I'm hanging out and I'm visiting with you and you've got your family wedding photo up on the wall. I'm not there. Is that not going to be ripping the scab off the wound? I don't know that I am mature enough or advanced enough in my own thinking to be able to pack that shit away in a box and never look at it again when it's right physically in front of me.
Okay, I'm going to challenge you, and you can tell me to go fuck myself. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
But she married an abuser.
Yeah.
So how do you celebrate that?
Because in her mind, she's not looking at it as she married an abuser. She married the love of her life.
So you would still opt for being able to celebrate it?
I mean, I guess so.
See,
the choice that she made in her mind, he's not an abuser. She loves him.
No, I get it. I get it. I just would not make that same decision.
I mean, it's in context. For me, it's in context. I see that she married an abuser, but she sees it as marrying the love of her life, her soulmate, her person. She sees it the same as her parents' relationship.
So she wasn't, and you tell me when. I'm waiting to be told. So she didn't know how you truly felt about her now husband?
No. Nope. She never asked. I try, when it comes to my kids and their relationships, when they were younger, I voiced an opinion. When they were adults, I never pretended to like him. It was pretty obvious to everybody around that I was uncomfortable in his presence and that I wasn't a huge fan.
Well, there you go.
But I never said the words. I never told her how I felt about him. If she was oblivious to it, she was maybe, and I'm sure in her mind it was my problem, not his. She wouldn't have married him if it was that forefront in her mind that he was an abuser.
Do you know why I'm asking you this?
Because you want me to think differently?
No. No. You get to think what you want. That's why we're friends. But here's the thing, and I may have told this story before, and I got to be really careful because my kids don't. They're okay with my sense of humor, but they're also concerned about their privacy. I'm sure they are. So I was in a situation with my hands are starting to shake, so I got to be careful, and I may save it. I'll be very, very coy. But I was in a position where I was asked by one what they thought of somebody, and the other one never asked. And the one who asked, if you will, I was honest about with, which is good and bad. You know what I'm trying to say, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
So I was honest in what I thought, and it wasn't, it wasn't horrible. It was just the truth. I see through people. You can't come through what we've come through and not, see it. So I shared it, and that relationship ended up coming to an end. And that person came back to me and recognized he had dodged a bullet. But very young, not as old as your daughter was. So, I stood a chance of him at least dodging a bullet. But I'll tell you, I won't do it again. But at the same time, I don't have to because he got that wake-up call. And so in my head, even if we don't have much between us going forward, at least I had done that. And I recognize that the decisions I've made inadvertently give them reason to stay away, but it's steeped in truth, not steeped in deception. By that same token, when they bring things to me, and you know my family, I mean, the dynamics of my family, you don't know the members that well. One of my brothers has brought things to my son about his own abuse. And I had to say to my son, that's great. I'm glad that he's sharing, but forgiving those who mistreated us is one thing. Forgiving ourselves for repeating the cycle is another. So I was, what my brothers may have endured and then repeated becomes the thing that's harder for them to look at because they're still in the rearview mirror looking at what happened to them. And that's what's hard for my boys to understand. And yet I still think for everything that the mistakes I was apologizing for things, Pam, before they were asking for me to take a look at myself. I was like, "Ooh, fucking caught that. Ooh, fucking caught that. Ooh, fucking caught that." And I was offering up apologies for things that they may never have questioned, but I knew how I had contributed to the cycle, not nearly to the degree I feel that I was mistreated, but it doesn't matter because that's what's affecting them now. And when they asked me to look at myself years ago, and I'm being very, very non-specific here, and I took heed that I needed to look at myself, that's when I started to realize I was dissociating from the other people that they had relationships with, which speaks to what happened to you when you wanted to backpedal after building those relationships between your kids and their grandparents. That is fucking hard work.
Yeah, it is. Yep. A lot of regret there.
Really? Because you did it?
Yeah. Yep.
See, I've forgiven myself that one.
I mean, I think if I still had a relationship with all three of my children and we came out the other side damaged but intact, perhaps. But because of the strains that I have currently, I mean, even though my oldest son has been able to see through it all, I mean, my God, his life was threatened, from my family, my brother. So there's a whole nother set, if I would have just not fostered any relationship, I wonder how different any of us would be. My parents wouldn't have moved from New York to 20 minutes away from me if I would have, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I feel like if I would have just kicked them to the curb 20 years prior, I would like to think that my world would be a much happier place than it is currently. Well, I'm not unhappy, so that's not the right word. It would be a much different place than it is now.
Yeah.
So that's my regret, and it's always the, coulda, woulda, shoulda, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. Well, if I had kicked my parents to the curb a lot sooner, would I still be having strife with my daughter? I just don't know. Would she have chosen the man that she chose if she wasn't the victim of so much vile from my mother?
That's her soul's journey, though, Pam.
I know. He said once her betrothed at their engagement party, or maybe it was the bachelor party. I can't remember what, but one of their friends came to me months afterwards, and he said, "I got to tell you a story, and it's been plaguing me and making me sick to my stomach, but there's nothing that I can do about it." I'm like, "All right, I'll lay it on me." Well, apparently her fiance was very drunk, and in my thought, drunk words or sober thoughts. He was asked about joining the Doors family, that we could be pretty intense humans or something along those lines. And he said, and I quote, "If I had the opportunity to put a gun in that bitch's mouth, pull the trigger and watch her brains splatter, I would do it in a heartbeat." And he was talking about me.
Uh-huh.
And this person that heard it, I'm like, "Did the boys hear it?" And he's like, "No. It was just like 2 or 3 of us." And I said, "What did you say?" He goes, "Pam, I had to walk away because I didn't know what to say. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to defend you guys, but I just couldn't. I just walked away." And I'm like, wow, isn't that story of my life?
You saw through him, though. He knew you saw through him. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you may think I know you. I can't fake it. I realized recently that my facial expressions give me away.
Yes.
My
Right.
mind.
Just because the mouth stay closed. Yeah. There's a bubble above your head just because of your eyes.
Yeah, and I had a situation recently with somebody where I'm like, why is this fucking asshole being a fucking asshole? And then I'm like, oh, it's your motherfucking face, you dope. You don't even have to talk. And that is, I'm sorry, it's a big thing. Especially it's funny for me being on the autistic spectrum that, I know we give ourselves away. I can't even try. But it's funny. I don't find it, I'd rather be that way. And then I want to tell you what happened, but I can't because I don't want to hurt the woman's feelings. But, it was very funny. All right. Where are we with time, Mr. Brian? All right. We're at 21 minutes. I can't thank you enough. And I appreciate you letting me push. My situation is different from yours, but similar in that we're at odds. We're challenged by our relationship with our kids. My mother dying has, I think, really, and I'm guessing, will allow my siblings to not be so dissociated, even though they're so much older than I am. And I really do wish them peace. It was what I've come through, and I don't know if you would agree with this, what I've survived or lived through or processed, I couldn't do again. I know that. I definitely, when the time comes, I'm contracting for a different experience. But it has taught me the things I know I'm supposed to do something about this time around. This fucking podcast, man. I can't not do it. I can't not have these conversations. I
agree. It's exhausting, though. I mean, it's emotionally
God.
exhausting, and people think that having the conversation is worse than just pushing it under the rug. Well, sometimes somebody will ask me a question and I'll give them an answer and they'll look at me like, "Oh my God, you just told me you were sexually abused." Well, yeah. I mean, I was. Like, am I not supposed to talk about it? And it's baffling to me how there are still, and that's what I hope to get from all this, that my speaking out makes it easier for somebody else to get it out, because it's cathartic. I mean, it hurts the first couple times. It's embarrassing, the whole victim shaming thing. You feel like it's all your fault, because that's how society paints us, especially for the sexual abuse, right? Well, you must have done something. Yep, I was 7 or 8. I definitely did something. But I hope that it gives people the opportunity to be able to talk and understand that talking is healing. And it's healing with an A, not two E's, right? So you are able to embrace it and be your own phoenix.
Yeah. And
right?
I know that I'm healing because there are a few things that don't get me going anymore. And I don't say triggering because but there's somebody said to me, and again, I don't want to give context. Everybody thinks their family's dysfunctional. And I said nothing. I used to say there's levels,
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
I don't even say that anymore. It reminds me of when people say everybody's a little bit autistic. Those people still need to get punched in the throat. that one I may never able not to have a response to, but the whole family thing, yeah, because I accept the soul's journey on the different places we are with this particular thing, because ultimately this is why we're here, and to spare our ancestors and to, we're watching it repeat in times of war and what our ancestors went through to even get to this generation. I wrote it down this morning that I will have exposure to 8 different generations through my life, probably. And I just thought, whoa, wow, that if I can spare the grief of the past and spare the grief of going forward, that's enough. I've done enough, and I don't want people to be in pain, regardless of the pain they've caused me. I don't.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't wish pain on others, even those that have caused me pain. I just don't want to ever have to deal with them.
Comedically, that's different. That's different. Yeah. And I'll visit the third dimension to make jokes. I have a joke amongst my close friends. If anything ever happens to me, family first. Family first.
Yes.
Don't bother with the 600 other people that hate my fucking guts. Start with my family. And, you'll probably find your guy. He may have been hired and, just follow the trail.
Ditto, girlfriend. Ditto.
They slip up.
Yep. Yep.
And plus the fact my family will be so threatened to me from the other side, I'll drop clues.
You'll just lead the way.
Yeah, amen. It won't be, just relax and it'll come to you. All right, we're going to go into the 5th episode. Pam's going to stay on, and I'm going to talk about estrangement. And Pam, I took some notes this morning. Sometimes I suck when I rely on my notes and just end up talking, and sometimes I just do the best I can because we're in 5 and we're in the home stretch, and I get a little burnt on my capacity. But stick around and please interject if you have a contribution in the next episode, please.
Sure.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the bouncing balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. J-Ma.